Hello, hello. Okay, hello, hello. Can everybody hear me? I hope. Fantastic. I will begin. Thank you so much for the patience. We've had quite a few technical issues. I'm based in Jacksonville, Florida. We finally modified it and found a solution. So I'm on my phone. So if we have any connection issues, that is going to be the reason. So thank you so much for logging in, listening, and please leave any comments, questions, and let's make this an interactive discussion. Dialogue is peace, and we are dialogical creatures who necessitate a social structure with one another. So this is the beauty of the advancement of technology, this medium that allows us to interconnect. We're all familiar in the 14th century with the Gutenberg Revolution that allowed the printing press to spread mass media throughout Europe. And this is really what the digital age is. We are now in this sort of fourth phase of development, and technology allows me and allows you to connect across the world, to build new cultures, and assimilate as a more unified body and planet. So I'm going to go into a short and brief presentation because unfortunately we're well over time. But I want to share with you an important quote to me from a Harvard education fellow. His name's Tony Wagner, and he writes a lot on what is education and how to reimagine education within the 21st century. And he says, today knowledge is ubiquitous, constantly changing, growing exponentially. Today knowledge is free. It's like air, it's like water. It's become a commodity. There's no competitive advantage today in knowing more than the person next to you. The world doesn't care what you know. What the world cares about is what you can do with what you know. And at the end of the day, this is the importance of the right of education. That it should be accessible, and that it should build a democracy and strengthen a citizen to politically participate, but also to tutor a mind, to avoid judgment, to mitigate preconceived notions. So, education as a right, I think we first have to explore what is a human right. And breaking what is a human versus what is a right are two separate factions. A human is a member of the Homo sapiens species. A right is something that is guaranteed, that is allowed. It is entitled. It is a freedom. It converges with the right to live, the right to speak by expression. These were all declared universal rights in 1948, and this is when education was recorded as a basic human right in international law. So I am of the belief that everyone has a right to education, without discrimination, without persecution, and more importantly, void contempt. Governments, the private sector, and the independent sector are all responsible. More importantly, government shapes conscientious public education policy. The private sector must be sensible in the allocation of financial resources by endowment and donations. And the independent sector is crucial to engage the citizenry in volunteerism and enhance civic participation. So all three play critical roles to upholding what is the right of education, this unalienable, defined, giving, sharing nature that is education. So as each sector plays an interdependent role for education development, refinement, and implementation, the democracy's base is reliant upon an educated populace. Right now, as it stands in the World Population Review, 99.2% of the world are literate. 99.2% of the world is literate. This is an amazing fate in comparison to where we were 3-4 centuries ago. Yet the majority of people who still struggle with illiteracy fall in Southwest Asia, additionally within Sub-Saharan Africa. And so these are areas, especially from women's empowerment and the establishment of education as a right, we have to improve on as a globe as a whole. And so I'm very fortunate and blessed to work in conjunction with our other speaker, who you heard from earlier, Mr. Mahad Ahmad, and form the central team of Global Peace Chain, where we believe in combating violence and hate, something that is inborn. And this is one of the things I'd like to recommend to you. There is a professor in the United States who teaches at Northwestern University. His name is Adam Yates, and he theorizes the motive attribute asymmetry, which is basically band level society and tribalism, and how one group combats another. If we take the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, for example, without shedding my position on this, you have one group that loves their philosophy and hates the other, and the other group loves their philosophies and hates the other group. So it creates this asymmetry, and the conflict perpetuates. At Global Peace Chain, we are trying to dive into what is that conflict, to offer peace, harmony, because discord involves resolution. It necessitates a difficult conversation, but that difficult conversation can never happen until the mind is tutored. And so Steven Pinker, a renowned Canadian-American Harvard psychologist, shares that conventional wisdom and rumor and superstition is too rampant within society. And so when we form identity politics and strong ideological precedents for what we believe in, this sometimes is by not having enough education. And so again, tying it back to the responsibility of each sector, but also the individual to make conscious and conscientious choice to place themselves within their education cycle. This is a balancing act of sorts. So what I would like to do for the short time that I have with you is express the importance of education's role in reducing poverty and decreasing social inequalities, empowering women, and helping each individual reach their full potential. And so in the United States, I have a startup called Prismatic Fusion, and we create spatial computing, virtual reality, and augmented reality solutions for inmates in prisons, and how to teach basic skills to the individual by leveraging technology. And right now, this open university is leveraging technology for social impact. And this is the beauty of technology within the digital age. And so my goal is to drive socioeconomic change within the X, Z, and Millennial generations. But more importantly, to go into communities that are low income, that are vulnerable. Additionally, I am working within the public education system here in the United States to enhance arithmetic and reading comprehension levels. And this is the first step. Worldwide, most children operate from a third grade reading level, even when they're 17 and 18. And this is something that must change, that must shift. And again, education as a right, as it was declared within the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, all the way to the UN General Assembly resolution on the right to education in emergency situations in 2010. Every nation has made it a priority to have a literate body, to strengthen a democracy. And so when I submerge myself into what is a yet vulnerable, low-income, under-resourced, disadvantaged, blighted community of a public education system here in the United States, it is my opportunity to be a community activist, to be a peace activist, to take the very principles that I believe in most, which is peace and justice and love. And this is something that I offer all of you guys to emulate, to uphold, as we learn to cooperate as a planet with one another. We have statehoods, we have nationhoods, we have bodies and structures that aid the reoccurring pattern of behavior as humans. But in order to achieve peace and sustainable development, education is critical. It's at the base of the pyramid. It's your pillar to find opportunity and again unlock that highest potential. So I really hope that within this brief discussion that all of us who have connected today can offer a perspective, can listen empathetically to one another, because external peace begins with internal peace. And there is, as the Dalai Lama says, a paradox of our age. But Martin Luther King Jr. once stated that we need leaders not in love with money but with justice, not in love with publicity but with humanity. Everyone is an educator, everyone is a student, but everyone must escape this echo chamber that feeds the same belief systems, that feeds the same thought sequences, and forms a mental model. I recommend to you guys a resource called Farnham Street, Farnam Street. It's a media publication based here in the US, and it really delves into what is judgment, what is fast and slow thinking models, and taking the best of what experts know and creating simplistic aphorisms for you as the reader to intake. Secondly, I'll leave another recommendation, Fast and Slow Thinking by the Nobel economist winner Daniel Kahneman. This is a great book on judgment, but how by our judgment can we practice better decisions to enhance peace and harmony. But it begins with our intentional decision for education. And all the while then to mitigate societal stigma, which may install the faulty belief system. So I implore you to activate your voice, to escape your insulated educational environment. Culturally engage in open universities, the excess of free resources, and always remember that we are all a part of this human species, and we are guaranteed a set of rights and freedoms as a result, because every human being must help the other human being to find a greater right, to remember what are their rights. So I also challenge you to, at your next dinner table conversation, when you disagree with somebody, when there is strife, to ask them, what is a human right to you? And I guarantee many people may not be able to define that. So again, I've offered a couple of recommendations. Farnham Street, Fast and Slow Thinking by Daniel Kahneman. Also, the Harvard Education Fellow Tony Wagner. He writes some incredible pieces as to the global education gap and reimagining 21st century education. But more importantly, please get involved with Global Peace Chain. It is a tremendous organization that unites, that allows people to express their voice. We have an upcoming summit in Malaysia, and we'd love for you to see all of you to apply. But I'm very thankful and grateful for the great work that the Open University is doing. I may yet take a class myself, and let us all unlock our higher potential together. thank you very much. And please leave comments below. Reach out to me personally. Again, apologies for all the technical issues, and I hope that the next time this happens, we can have a smoother run at it. All right, all the best. Peace and prosperity.